Hello, I'm Meenal Kavishwar. I'm a clinical psychologist and an animal therapist, and today I'm going to talk about the healing benefits of pets. When all else fails, hug the dog or your cat. How many of you have heard this statement and wondered if it was true? Really, would just a hug from a dog cure everything? Or would it be, is there more to it? How many of you have been waiting to try out and get an opportunity to be with a pet to make you feel better? If we were to have a head count right now, most of you would have already experienced that the hug of a dog had made you feel better, and the rest of you would be waiting to experience it. But what is it about the hug of a dog or the touch of a pet that makes you forget your worries? If you're a pet owner, you already know the answer. I have been talking about the healing benefits of pets for over 15 years now, promoting the benefits of human-animal interaction and the mutual health benefits that are there for both humans and pets when they live together. But the last year, 2020, has taught us so much about what I have been promoting for over 15 years now. That pets bring not just joy in our life, but they also help us stabilize our emotions and help us get through some of our most stressful times. 2020 hit us like a wrecking ball in our faces. We were all taken aback unexpectedly due to the pandemic, due to the lockdown. We were forced to stay at home. We were forced to work from home. Work from home was now the new normal. And we had to maintain social distancing, hence we couldn't see our family, hence we couldn't see our friends. A lot of human contact was just stopped. The world had come to a standstill, and so had our social life. When we were trying to deal with this, when we were adapting to this new sudden change, it wasn't the fancy cars or the fancy clothes or the gym membership or the club membership that helped us get through. It was the underdogs, literally. Our dogs and cats helped us get through this pandemic. Those who have pets and those who have pets and those who have lived with pets through the pandemic will definitely understand what I'm saying. The early morning rush hour when you had to hurry up and go to office full of workload or full of thoughts in your head was now turned into morning walks or playful time with your pet, or just lazy cuddles in the morning with your pet, since you didn't have to rush to office so soon. Board meetings were still there, but with the head of your pet in your lap, they didn't seem so stressful anymore. And coffee breaks turned into feeding time for your pet or more playtime for your pet. Some of you might have indulged into yoga sessions with your cat, or yes, those who are cat owners would know that it is extremely difficult not to give attention to the cat when she's around, and she'll take the liberty of walking across your laptop without giving any importance to the work that you're doing. But what it did was, it helped you break away from the screen that you constantly stare at. For pets, they don't have the concept of work from home, or they don't understand why you keep staring at a screen for so long. They need your attention, they crave for your attention, and they constantly make sure that they get your attention. But this has an advantage. When you were working from home and you had pets around you, your neck wasn't that stiff anymore. Your eyes didn't hurt so bad as it used to back in office. This was because you constantly kept looking at your pet. The pet kept wanting your attention. You got up more often, you moved more often, you felt their touch more often. So all the factors that built up in a stiff body and stressed mind were in fact taken care by the pets that were at home. And this is true for any pet, like it may be a cat or a dog or even a bird or even fish. A lot of people who have fish at home would, constantly go back and feed or watch and observe the tank, and a lot of stress just melts away when you do that. So those who had pets during pandemic have experienced that it was much more beneficial to have pets than to work without pets around. This is the power of unconditional love. Work wasn't stressful anymore. In fact, you probably learned to be more mindful with your pet around. Just as nature can accomplish everything without rushing into anything, you also somehow managed to get everything accomplished without being in a rush to do things. Now, how exactly does this work? Is it that simple? Just get a pet and your stress goes away? Yeah, there is definitely more to it. And as a therapist, what I do is I combine the therapeutic benefit of having a pet into my therapeutic practice. And this is something that all of us who have pets at home can do. For example, if I am to, okay, this is Glency. She's my cat, and she has been wonderful to us throughout the pandemic with my kids who had to work, who had to do their school from home. And it was not easy for kids as well. Like for us humans, adults itself, it is been a very difficult time to adjust to everything. But wonder how children must have taken it. But Glency has been there with them throughout. Whenever they felt frustrated, as why can't we go out, Mama? Why can't we meet our friends? I'm missing school. Or what else to do if you're saying no gadgets or no TV time? And then it was Glency. We came up with so many new games, so many new fun activities, and Glency was always a part of it. Whenever they felt overwhelmed, Glency used to literally cuddle with them. Yeah, Glency? Yeah. So when you have a pet, you can do many things. Even if it is not a therapeutic pet, you can incorporate your pet in many activities at home to maximize the therapeutic benefits that they give you. Now, what are these therapeutic benefits if you ask? Simple things that you might know that yes, they lower down your stress, they lower down the anxiety. But how does that happen? When you stroke a dog, it helps you in generating oxytocin, which gives you the happy feeling or the relaxed feeling, which in turn, lowers down your stress. This is just one thing. There are many other benefits, like the playtime with dogs will actually help you in movement. When you're just sitting at home and working or just doing one thing, you tend to restrict your physical movements. But when you have a pet, yes, the pet makes you move more physically, and that's always for your advantage. And the most important thing that this pandemic has made us realize of what we've been overlooking or underestimating is the sense of touch. Now, touch is such a, it's very common, but when you are deprived of it is when you realize how important it is. So during the pandemic, when you couldn't touch people, when you couldn't hug people, when you couldn't get that pat on your back, you felt the sense of deprivation of touch. And that's where a lot of families who had pets could get that filled in. When it was difficult to reach out to someone you love, or when you craved for that contact comfort, for that physical comfort, your pets were always there for you. And this benefited more for children, especially single children during the pandemic, or senior citizens, or those with special need who had to be locked down in a confined space. Now, this also gave rise to a new trend called as the pandemic puppy phenomena. Everyone had somehow realized, or rather most of them had somehow realized, that yes, we need a pet in a house. It might have been a cat or a dog or whatever they chose as their pet, but people were feeling the need for companionship, and it gave rise to people adopting puppies and kittens and other small animals straight away. And though for most people who are working in the adoption and rehabilitation sector would have been happy about this, but it also gave rise to a serious concern of whether these families have now decided to take a pet because it was a need and because they were at home, all of them were at home, would they still continue having the pet after the pandemic was over and after all of them had to go back to their work? Because having a pet is a huge commitment, and you cannot just decide to have a pet at your convenience. So though it's very joyous that a lot of people are now deciding to have a pet or are realizing that it is definitely going to be beneficial for them, they also have to be mindful that having a pet is a responsibility for life. And since it's a mutually benefiting relationship, it shouldn't be that only we are getting the benefit of it and not them. So the presence of a pet that provides us that much needed contact comfort, the much needed physical presence, being in an empty house or walking into an empty house, as opposed to coming home to a wagging tail or coming home to a cat, going across your legs, that makes a lot of difference. Unconditional love is the hallmark of what animals can offer to us. But that is not all. They help us. They are basically very keen observants. Like if I am at home working or my husband is at home working, our cats are constantly around us and they are watching us, they are observing us. When they feel that we are getting probably overworked or we are getting stressed out, then they will definitely walk towards us. They would, draw our attention, probably want to play or bring something to us to play. And without noticing, our mind gets diverted from the thought track that has occupied our minds to the cat. And for those who have been struggling to deal with overthinking or a lot of stressful thoughts, I'm sure we have all been through it, and it's easier said than done that stop overthinking or don't overthink or cut off from your thoughts. It's not that easy, but pets make it so easy. You don't know how to stop your thought, but when a pet comes in front of you, your mind is automatically diverted towards the pet and the thought is lost. So it helps you deal with different emotions in a much better way. And yes, pet can recognize our emotions, and when we interact with them more, they learn how to respond to it. So if you're feeling anxious, and your cat will come close to you and she'll start purring, so that's an indication that she has noticed that you are stressed out. And that also means that you have to give more attention to her and just focus on her purring and just be mindful of that connection that you have with her. And yes, your stress will go away. So next time you feel stressed out, don't forget to hug your cat or your dog. Thank you so much.